Greetings everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is The Hidden Dragon. In this video I'm going to talk about how my journey began, why I became inspired to become a card reader, energy healer, medium, working with people from around the world online, professionally, and also having local clients come to me in my office for targeted sessions, specific sessions. In future videos, I'll talk more in depth about the different types of energy tools that I use and different techniques and methods, and I go over all of that. But this video is going to be about how my journey began, what inspired me to follow my passion and find my purpose in life. It's going to sound really cliche, but this all started when I was a child, and my childhood experiences brought me up to this point. So when I was a child, I would communicate with spirits and talk to people who weren't there. I would have very vivid dream experiences as a child as well. I'd visit faraway places that I'd never been, never seen, see people who I'd never met. Um, but I would just categorize that as dreams, as they're taught to in storybooks. So I have very vivid memories. I can even remember these dreams and these specific things that happened in my childhood. There was one incident, one time that I was 5 years old, 1993. Me and my parents, we went to Disneyland, and my family, my sisters, right? And we were on the coach going to Dover, then from Dover, Calais to Paris. So on the way to Dover in the coach, there was another coach that had come speeding past us. I didn't know where it was going. It wasn't part of our group. And I remember just seeing they're going to crash and people are going to be hurt. And my mum was sitting next to me and she said, don't see things like that. About 10 minutes later, this bus was in the ditch on its side, smoke coming out of it. It wasn't on fire, but some windows were broken. And I remember everybody on the bus being quite shocked, and I was just sitting there, blowing my breath on the window, writing my name. That's a memory that I'll never forget. However, yeah, mm, however, growing up and reading stories and tales, and unfortunately having glimpses of some horror movies like Freddy Krueger, Candyman, It, the Clown, Pennywise, I began to then have nightmares. So dream time to me was something that I was terrified of. I would see faces in the dark, in the ceiling, in the curtains, and I wasn't just a child seeking attention or seeing monsters under my bed. These were real images, these real things that I was seeing. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but that's a form of divination and a form of communicating with spirits or entities. And I was absolutely terrified of it. I would do this strange thing where basically I would be laying in bed and I'd be going, and I know many people do that, and I've spoken to many people who have done that as a child. And as I grew up, I realized that that's a mantra, and the vibration is kind of harmonizing the body and the brain waves. Science will speak about just shortly now. And so, yeah, I had experiences where I felt gigantic and small at the same time, and then these tiny dots would appear above me, in front of me, and they would spin around and come closer to me. And it was almost like a wormhole, like a vortex. And the closer it got, the more terrified I became, because I forgot, but I actually knew that it was time to go into the dream world. And I didn't want to go back there because of the nightmares. I used to have awful nightmares. One of these nightmares, I fell down the drain, and this Loch Ness monster kind of dragged me under. Another nightmare, I left my front garden and this guy came running past, grabbed me, and I was just like a carrier bag just floating in the wind, like weightless, completely weightless. So I was terrified to sleep. I had insomnia, anxiety, and all of these kind of things just terrified. I literally wouldn't sleep. I had this little tiger nightlight, and I just used to stare at it and stay awake all night. It was just terrible. Of course, after all of those traumatic experiences, um, and seeing spirits, like real life, looking out of my window this once, and this woman just appeared, blonde hair, short hair, and she was laughing, smiling, and like these lights, like circular lights, orbs flashing around her. They were like orange and yellow and pink, and I was just hysterical, crying. I saw this crocodilian being with a long snout at the side of my bed, this army major general. So yeah, memories, experiences, but a little bit of trauma mixed in there. Anyway, as I grew up, of course, and I calmed down, these memories kind of left my mind a little because I was just, involved with friends and football and playing, riding my bike and all of those kinds of things. So growing up, yeah, those experiences left me. The Dreamtime experiences left me alone eventually, and I was just a normal person like everybody else, involved with friends, partying, having fun, recreational times. Did good in school, did well in school, took a little bit of a dip, but then I rebounded and I went to college. I studied sports science, got my diploma in sports science, which is all about, the body anatomy, how to strengthen the body, the muscular, the cardiovascular system, the muscular system, skeletal system, respiratory system, how the body recovers from injury, how it heals, flexibility, stamina, endurance. And I was always passionate about healing and helping people. I wanted to go on to do physiotherapy in university, but I was just, I had this short-sightedness. I just couldn't see the next 5 years being in college and university and then getting into debt when all of my friends were driving around in cars and partying and all of that kind of stuff. That's what I wanted. So I dropped out of college, had a few jobs. I was working in sales, construction, and then went to work at Nissan in a car manufacturing plant and earning good money. And I got to do all of those things. I had the car, I had the girl, I had the friends, I had the money, all of that kind of stuff. And then in 2008, the recession hit the world and the UK, and they were offering redundancy pay to people who wanted to leave. And at the time, I was pretty exhausted from doing 3 shifts: day shift, back shift, night shift. And it just wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me working in a place like that. Again, my short-sightedness kicked in. I didn't have the long vision of, let's get a mortgage, pay it off by I'm 40 or 50, and then I'll be like team leader or supervisor, on a bit more money, wife and kids, finance cars, all of that kind of stuff. I just, no, I didn't want it. I wanted it out and I wanted it gone. So yeah, I took a bit of a nudge, and that's what I done. I took the money. That didn't last very long. My money was gone. My friends were gone. I moved away from the place where I grew up, so I was quite alone. I left my girlfriend because I just wasn't there mentally. I just wasn't there mentally or in my heart space. And of course, I lost my car because I just couldn't afford to run it anymore. So that's when I hit rock bottom. I was in £20,000 debt. I had overdrafts, loans, all of that kind of stuff. And it sunk into a deep depression and anxiety. I had social anxiety from it all, a little bit of paranoia and social anxiety just wasn't functioning very well. My mental clarity was very cloudy. My thought train process was very negative. My emotions were very heavy. Um, I was involved with recreational drugs and all of that kind of stuff. I wasn't much of a big drinker, but I wasn't an addict. I wasn't physically addicted to anything. I was just trying to escape reality, and I was searching for a purpose. I was soul searching, trying to self-initiate myself into higher states of mind, higher states of being, whether that was through, love, or whether that was through ecstasy, right? Um, and I just, yeah, I didn't know what my passion was, what my purpose was. I always believed there was more to life. I always believed in an afterlife. was never a religious person believing in God or Jesus or anything like that, but um, yeah, I was just soul searching for a purpose and my passion. I was thinking, there's no way out of this. Like, how will I ever get out of this pile of debt, get another job, pay the debt off, get a mortgage? By the time all of this now, I've been jumped at 60, 70 before I can do all of that. I thought I'd threw away all of my opportunities with college, university, um, and of course with a permanent job to get a mortgage and those kind of things. So I was just slowly sinking and sinking. Anyway, I used to pay my grandparents a visit often. My Nana Rose, my granddad Wilf, was always a pleasant place to be, and we used to share stories. My granddad Wilf, although he is a stone cold atheist, he had many mediumistic experiences, spirits coming to him, people just before they died, and he would see spirits in people. Um, but he never believed in any of that, and each to their own. And then my grandmother, who was a Roman Catholic, she believed in a little bit more in the afterlife and in heaven and such things like that. Um, and we'd have chats about, astral projection, mediumship, psychic detectives, and all of that kind of stuff. Um, and then we'd paint, we'd draw pictures. I used to do pencil drawings with her. I used to like to draw like cobblestones and them English walls that are put together with rocks and stones and castles and trees. Just imagination, far away places. And then she hands me this book called The Psychic Mind, and she said, I think you'd be really interested in this, you should read it. And I had all the time in the world with not having a job, a girlfriend, or a car, anything like that, and I didn't even have any money. I could just barely afford a bus ticket at the time. So I took the book home, I was reading the book, and the book was all about the psychic mind, how public service sectors such as the army, the police, the navy were using or experimenting with clairvoyant and psychic abilities. It spoke about how murder mysteries were solved with psychic detectives who were using this technique called psychometry, where they would hold an object of a person, a pen, a ring, a watch, whatever, and they would pick up psychic visions of the person's last whereabouts, who they were with, that sort of thing. And murder mysteries were solved, cases were closed. There was success with them. Then they were talking about how in the Navy they would use a captain who was on land, and he would send numbers, colours and words psychically to an admiral who was underwater in a submarine, and those tests and experiments were successful as well. Then there was remote viewing, which the CIA and the KGB and MI5 secret services used to do, where remote viewing is a technique where you're given the longitude and latitude coordinates of certain places, or you tap into a certain place, and the remote viewer just draws a picture of what they see. And again, success was there. This quote by Jimmy Carter about when this woman, I think a woman or a man, had found a downed spy plane in the African jungle, and they were just unable to locate it with satellite images. And when she gave the location, the coordinates, and she drew what she drew, they found this downed spy plane, and they wanted it before the Russians got there, and they did recover that downed spy plane. So I'm like, wow, this is quite amazing. So it starts talking about the Vietnamese War, and talks about the technique called dowsing, where you use like a stick and like a little metal rod that goes over the stick. And when you walk over the surface of the earth, if there's a tunnel dug out underneath, the piece of metal would begin to move. And the reason why that happens is because of the Earth's electromagnetic field. And it spoke about the Earth's electromagnetic field, and then I began to remember, I love science as a child. I love biology, chemistry, physics, and how, the universe is made of atoms, nothing but electromagnetic beings, and on the subatomic level you've got string theory. So everything's just vibration, right? Everything's vibration, a frequency, and if you can tune that frequency, then you should be able to tap into different altered states of awareness. Maybe it is the fact that once the soul leaves the body, they're in a different dimension, a different realm, and if you're able to tune your brain, your receiver, like a radio tuner, just a different station, then you're able to perceive them, see them, and speak to them. And this is everything what the book was talking about. Anyway, so it spoke about the Schumann resonance, how the Earth's electromagnetic field, it has a harmony, a pulse of around 8 hertz. Spoke about the brain waves, how the brain also functions in alpha wave state at 8 hertz. So there's 5 states, and you have beta, alpha, theta, delta, which is sleep, and then gamma. We'll talk more about the brainwaves as well in future videos. So I'm just like, okay, wow, this is amazing. I'm blown away. We're not talking about religion. We're not talking about spirituality. We're talking about science here. This is real science, real life experiences backed up with evidence from public services, police and the military, and secret services such as the CIA, KGB and MI5, which in another video I'll talk about the 007 program, which we know as James Bond, was actually created in the 14th, 15th century by John Dee, who was Queen Elizabeth I's psychic advisor, astrologist, alchemist, and seer or vizier, whatever you want to call it. So we'll talk about more about that secret spy agency in a different video. So at the end of the book, it was talking about how to develop, clairvoyance, and there was 2 exercises. The first exercise was a card. You get 2 cards, and the 2 different colored cards. One's blue, one's red, and you just feel with your hand, which color the card is, and see if you can pick it up in your mind's eye when you close your eyes. So I was starting to get success with this. After that, I could, with my mind, imagine any color I wanted, to where, the color's really coming through here. It's not just, I imagine blue, I imagine yellow. No, these colors were really coming through. Anyway, the second exercise was visualization of a daisy or a flower. They recommended doing a daisy because it was quite simple. So you have 3 colors. You have the green stem, you have the yellow center, and then the white petals. So all the time in the world, on my hands, I began visualizing the daisy 20 minutes every day, usually 20 minutes before I went to sleep. And some nights, I'm not going to lie, I mean, it was almost impossible. My mind was just overwhelmed, absolutely overwhelmed with thoughts, emotions, regret, mistakes, doubts, worries, music, lyrics, everything. And sometimes I just used to turn to my side and just go to sleep. I couldn't handle it. But after a while, this daisy started to become real. And I mean, like, real. This real image was coming through. Flashes would come through. I'd see the stem, then I'd see the yellow. I'd be reminded of, how these colors were prominent in my life. My school sweatshirt, a car, a family car, a lighter, even just different memories would come through. My emotions would start to soothe and start to heal on their own. Strangely enough, my heart was just opening up. My day-to-day life was much easier. My chores were a blessing. I just felt blessed in my life. I felt so happy. Sometimes my CD player would skip. It would go off at a certain time, and I just took it as a message to, go to bed and connect. And that's what I did. So after a while, then what was happening was that this daisy was coming through so vividly, it now became 3D. And the stem, the little green stem, I could even see the tiny little hairs on the stem. And this is when the magic kicked in, and it was a 3D image. And I found myself in hyperspace, in this void, the void of nothing, the 0 point. And I just felt larger than life, but at the same time, I felt tiny, like a tiny atom, a tiny speck. And I was just revolving, moving around And that's the first time in my life I actually felt free. I was completely free again. Um, and all of a sudden I had this experience because I could feel this pressure building, I could feel this pressure building, and I was seeing these colors coming through. I was even seeing, like I could see the walls and the outline of everything in my room. I could judge the distance at the side of my bed, how high the bed was. It was so strange. I was seeing downstairs at the computer. Things were just happening, and I didn't know what was happening. I was just having fun and experiencing it, and this pressure was growing and growing, and I feel it getting closer and closer, and this was over time. And then it was almost as if something just like touched my lip, and as it did, I just felt this vibration just go coming off my top lip, and it was just coming. It was all the way through my body, like these golden waves, and I could see them, I could hear them, I could feel them, and I opened my eyes, and it was just like, I don't know if you've ever stared at the sky. Most people look at the floor, right, where they're walking, and they're just in their heads. But if you look at the sky, if you look at the clouds, and in the sky, you see like these little gold dots, these little gold flashes. I I see it as just energy, pure energy. Um, I don't think anybody knows what it really is. But anyway, these tiny little specks were like that, like boom, 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 all over my room, and I'm like, wow. First thing I thought was, this is better than sex. Literally, it was just like the feeling was just so satisfying, so fulfilling. And if you read in the Vedic text or the Buddhist or whatever, I think it was something like spiritual ecstasy, and that's when my third eye had opened, and I experienced ESP, those type of psychic abilities, and it was just great. In that moment, I almost filled up with tears, but I couldn't help do nothing but smile. But as I focused at the bottom of my bed, there was like three entities, spirits, and I was just like, look, I'm not ready to talk to ghosts here, because that's what I knew them as, ghosts. It's a negative connotation, if they had a different name, would I have reacted to them differently? Probably. However, I reacted in fear, and I closed up, shut down, and I didn't really want to communicate. But this is the experience that brought me to where I am today, and this is the reason why um, I'm beyond beliefs and faith. I'm into the realm of knowledge and experience, direct knowledge that brought me wisdom. It's like I can I can offer you a seat, and it's up to you to choose if you want to sit down or not. And if you choose to stand, you'll still never know how comfortable it is to sit down. Um, and again, reading about the brainwaves, the meditation, the CIA, the public services, and the psychic detectives, I crossed that bridge forever. It was never about spirituality. It was never about religion. It was all about science, direct experience in my eyes. And this is how my journey began. And this is why I chose to follow my path, follow my passion, find purpose in becoming initiated into healing modalities, working with, vital energy, magnetism, electromagnetism, and looking at card readings, astrology, that sort of thing. That's why it brought me to where I am today. You know, at one point at my lowest, when I was down, depressed and anxious, I was diagnosed with all of these things, given medication. It just wasn't working for me. I didn't want to take it, and I found the meditation, and I'm an advocate for mind over matter. I refuse to believe that my personality and my characteristics, the qualities of who I am, are just a bunch of chemical reactions in my brain. I refuse to acknowledge that. Why should I believe that? I can't believe in anything. I have to directly experience it, and that's been a big part of who I am in this life. I'm very grounded, I'm very realistic, very scientific. I'm the first one to read into something and try to experience it firsthand, rather than just blindly following and believing in something that may not be there. So yeah, this is my story, my beginning, and there's more to come and there's more to it. So I hope this video inspires you um, to look into this yourself, or even, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to comment in the comment section, or try to contact me directly. All my links will be in the bio. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen to my story, and I'd love to hear yours. So goodbye for now. Thank you.